So today's session is the TVHG Training Course. I am Emil Belvin. I am a realtor and investor here in Los Angeles. As mentioned earlier, I also have a tax office. So I've been on the tax side as a tax consultant. I'm not a CPA, I'm a CTAC preparer and have been for the last 18 years. So that's where I started my business, and then it transitioned into real estate because taxes slow down around summertime. So I wanted something to kind of bridge that gap. And so I got into real estate right as the market was crashing. 2007 is when I got my license. And so I got into the business. My goal was to close like 2-3 deals a year. So I met that goal. But then I got a little greedy. I said, well, I stop at 2 or 3 deals a year. So then, it grew. Now I'd say on average, I do somewhere between 5 to 10 transactions in a year. It's kind of the norm, what I expect to do. So, that's not killing it. That's not like, I'm really doing great as a real estate agent. I did 5 deals this year, at $15,000 in commission, whatever the case may be. That's an okay income, but that's not killing it. So around 2015, I sold a project. I show this one in the Lunch and Learn. I sold a project, and I was able to kind of represent the seller, and I represented the buyer, doubled the commission. I was like, okay, great, that was good. But then I looked at what the investor made. Right? Once they went back and sold it, I went back and I, did the numbers on the calculation and said, wow, I had the listing. That was my project. That was my opportunity, and I missed it. I said, never again. That was 2015. So between 2015 and now, I'm able to say that I've done 5 investment projects myself. Actually, 3 down, 3 completed, and 2 that I'm currently working on. And I said, this is kind of something I'm sure other real estate agents are interested in, and brokers, because a lot of us never have that aha moment. Like, we work 20 years part-time in real estate and the light bulb never goes off. So today is that light bulb moment that I've condensed again into my cliff notes in my head of experience from being a real estate agent, as well as things that I've learned as an investor. So in your handout is a little folder here. So this is going to be, in the folder is going to be a handout. This is what we're going to cover today. So it's not going to be all the slides, but it's about, let's say 8 or 10. If you had to step out, the main thing of what I'm going to cover is slide number 2. So I always give you like my table of content or my agenda as to what I'm going to talk about. That's slide number 2. And then there's some other ones. We won't get too far ahead of ourselves. Also in here, you're going to see a couple postcards. These are some things that I mail out. You always want to have something that you can give to your prospective client or buyer or whatever the case, or seller. I buy vacant homes. This has kind of been my little niche as to what I do. I buy vacant homes. And so this is kind of like a little, if you want to McDowell that, it's not. We got the one that says 10 to 20% rate of return. That's the one that should be in your folder, okay? Got it, 10, 20% rate of return. So again, this one we actually went, we got 5,000 of these made on good card stock. But then I was like, hey, that's an old picture. I want something that's kind of telling investors what they're going to get, 10 to 20% rate of return. And I'm a little less hair now, so let's update that picture just a little bit. All right, so that's what's in your handout. That's what's in your folder. Where and what to look for. Now, I mentioned in one of the videos that I posted that I don't really know anything about jewelry. It's not my thing. I got a wedding ring. This is the most expensive piece of jewelry I'll probably ever buy. Just not really into jewelry. It's not my thing. So I say that because, can somebody tell me what this is? Is it an emerald? Is it a sapphire? Is it a granite? Piece of granite? What is it? Gold? Onyx? Right. Is a kryptonite like this? This is not. It's a rock. If somebody gave us this, we wouldn't know what to do with it. We wouldn't know what to do with it. And that's key, because you have to know as real estate agents exactly what to do with projects and properties that land on your desk. You understand what I'm saying? It may look like this, but you have to see it as that. You have to see that diamond in the rough. As soon as you see this part right here. But somebody has to show you that part. You're here today. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into how I see something, right? A diamond in the rough. That's what it looks like. All right, let's keep it going. So what do diamond in the rough look like? Most of the time, they're going to be distressed properties. Now, this is definitely going to be slide number 3, which is at the bottom of your handout here. Distressed properties. Distressed properties come from distressed opportunities, right? But let's look at some of the distressed opportunities. What are they? Well, people get downsized or laid off, and it can create a distressed opportunity. Not all the time. Like sometimes people get laid off and they're like, oh, cool, I needed some time off from work anyway. I'm killing myself at that job, right? And they're good for 6 months or a year or 2 years. All right, so downsizing can do it. What else? Dealing with health issues. Absolutely. Health issues are going to come up time and time again, you'll see in real estate, where someone's, maybe getting to a point in age where, maybe they had a stroke, maybe they're just not moving the way they used to. They may need a caregiver or something of the sort. So those things would definitely lead to distressed opportunities, possibly. Not all the time, but they can lead to distressed opportunities. You see what I'm saying? So now we're not hoping anybody gets sick or gets laid off or gets divorced, but these are things in life that are going to happen. Some of this might even happen to us. Do you see what I'm saying? So we want to prepare ourselves in regard to these type of things and listen for these opportunities that are going to come up. Or, because I asked somebody in one of the lunch and learns, like, when do you ask if someone passes away, what are the plans for the property? Like, do you do that in that conversation? Do you hand them your card? Like, how do you bridge that? Because you don't want to miss out on the opportunity. And I say that because I had a client who I was talking to who told me, she called me, she was a tax client. She says, I'm getting divorced. The judge, ordered that we sell the property. And, it was kind of frustrating. I was hearing her frustration with what she was dealing with that I just didn't ask. And then I was like, dude, why didn't you ask? You should just ask her. Like, she told you she's about to sell the property. Like, that was like the alley-oop, what I mean? Like, she told you that. And you said, oh, well, do you have a realtor when the time is right? So that's something I learned. Paid $1,000 for that, Jackie. That term right there. Do you have a realtor when the time is right? All right, that's free. That's part of just throwing that in for today. It's a bonus. Again, because it doesn't seem like you're trying to be aggressive with it. Well, what are you guys going to do with the property when the time is right? Have you thought about that? Right? It's not so intrusive. It's not like you're trying to get the business, but you're planting the seed that, hey, I'm a realtor, keep me in mind. I'd love to help you with that because it may come up. Absolutely. Fair enough? All right, here we go. So downsizing, dealing with health issues, divorce, damage to property. One of the first projects that I worked on was damage to property. That was my first investment project. I'll tell you the story. I don't think I did the last time, so I'll tell everybody now. Great, perfect opportunity. So Adrian, one of my partners in the office, he knew that I was looking for vacant homes, right? So he found this property here. It's actually one of the reasons I put it on this postcard. He found this property. This was the first one. It's on Golden Street, right? So Golden Street was golden for me. So Golden Street. He found this property. It looked like this. And so I called the owner. I had to do my research. I found the owner. I called the owner. And I got him on the phone. I said, yeah, okay, cool, he picked up. So I'm talking to the owner. Actually, I was leaving a voicemail, old school, so I was leaving it on the answering machine. And he picked up the phone. And so my message was, hi, I'm calling about the property on Golden Street. I really wanted to talk to you about it. I'm interested in it, so on and so forth. And he picks up the phone. And then he goes, hey, what you talking about? And I said, yeah, I'm interested in buying the property on Golden Street, but I wanted to kind of maybe see the inside or get a little information from you. And he goes, have you seen the property? And I said, I had a chance to look at some pictures. I really like it. He said, have you seen the property? And I said, well, I haven't been out to see the property just yet. And he goes, man, you lying. And he hangs the phone up on me, right? He hangs the phone up on me. And I said, this is great. We're going to do a deal with this guy. And Adrian was like, what are you talking about? He just hung up on you. And I said, he picked up the phone. Yeah. He picked up the phone. We had a conversation. I'm leaving it on the answering machine. He could have just let it go, but he picked it up and he wanted to have a conversation. I said, I'm gonna go see the property and I'm gonna send him an offer in a week. That's what I'm gonna do. So I went and saw the property, and I even might have taken a picture of it to put in with my offer to show that I got by to see the property, right? You know what I mean? So that's the first question. Did you see the property? So then I called him back and I was leaving another message. Hey, Mr. Carter, I got by to see the property. I'm sending you an offer. I really like this one. And he picks up again. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, man, I got by and saw that property. I really like it, and I'm sending you an offer. So I just want to give you a heads up to be on the lookout for my offer. He says, all right, man, I'll look out for it. I said, well, it's going to be there probably on Tuesday because I mailed it today, blah, blah, blah. All right, well, just call me. We'll talk next week. So true enough, we ended up talking, and we got the deal. I wrote it for $205,000. This was like maybe 2016. So it wasn't too long ago. This is Compton property, $205,000. The back unit, I bring that up because the back unit was damaged. It was fire damage. And I'm sure he had it paid off free and clear. No insurance on the property, more than likely. And the squatters were living there and so on and so forth. He lived out in Lancaster. So driving out here to get squatters out was just getting to be too much. I bring this up as an example. Mr. Carter passed away right after 4th of July. I mailed out these postcards, just this one here, this little bendy one. I mailed this out, let's say within the last month. And his wife called the office and she told me, she said, oh, Mr. Carter passed away. I got your postcard. Thanks so much for sending that to us. Just wanted to let you know. And I was like, wow, a great guy. I love Mr. Carter. He was a jokester, a lot of charisma, probably pushing 80, late 70s, pushing 80. But just really good, so that makes this deal mean even that much more to me as to how that transpired. Got a story to tell because of it, and it was a great project with a good ending in regard to how things turned out on that. So yes, phone calls, getting face to face with people. We're going to talk about that. But the point I'm getting at is damaged properties can lead to opportunities. Absolutely, that's an example. Most agents want this type of listing. What type of listing is that? Easy. What would be easy? How would the property look if it were easy? Turnkey. The turnkey, the better, right? What side of town we want it to be on?
The better side.
The better side of town. Where we go? Santa Monica, View Park, where we want to be. Hollywood Hills, where do we want to be, right? Beverly Hills. Absolutely. This is what we want. We want a property that looks turnkey. Right? This is a listing that it picked up on 67th, and it's turnkey. She went in, she did a great job with it. Most of us want this type of deal, right? But let's go back to that diamond in the rough example. So what we should be looking at. We should be looking for this. When we see this in the neighborhood, it's like, oh, what's going on there? But typically what happens is this is the one we drive by because our buyers aren't interested in that. That's not the one that we stop the car, get out, write down the address, take a picture of it, and get more information on. But that should be the one that we do that for. Am I making sense? Mm-hmm. Right. That's the outside. So what do you think the inside look like? All right, here's a shot of the inside.
Oh my God.
Here's a shot of the inside. Here's the ceiling. That's the ceiling. The water damage was so bad to the ceiling that the ceiling had opened up. The water was dripping on the floor, and there was a hole in the floor. So if you walked there, you'd go straight to the ground. All right? That was the inside. By the way, this is flash. There was no light in the house, no power. This is just flash, right? So the flash got us that. Now, bam, here's the kitchen. That's how the kitchen look. Can I get you some water? Anybody? No? You good? All right. So, no, I don't want any water. I don't want anything. Adrian was walking around the property with me when we went to see it that day. He says, man, did you see that whatever was in the corner? It was like half a body or something. And I was like, it was like a old, like, mouse or rat or a possum. I said, dude, I wasn't even looking at that. I said, I was looking at, okay, this is that. Okay, this is a decent sized room. Let me flash here. All right, what else you got, Mr. Carter? I'm stumping hard. If they scatter, I'm in the house. We're gonna kill y'all in a few, but right now, just get on out here, right? So that's what I was looking at as I walked around the house. Okay, that's how it looked. It looked worse on the inside than it did from the outside. But that's to be expected. This house would be perfect for Halloween. It would have been perfect. Like this would have trick or treat house. Yeah, this would have been. So this is that kind of house, right? The one that you say, the one that we typically would drive by. But this is that diamond in the rough. Now let's see something after, right? I'm going to show you the afters. This is how it looked after. This is how the property looked after. Didn't change much. That's the same. Just painted, cleaned up the tile a bit. That's how it looked. That's that same exact room. Same exact room.
How much money did it cost to make that?
Fireplace was here. Fireplace there. This was the ceiling was all jacked up. Ceiling fan there. Door, same space. It's closed back up. They didn't want that open rafter look. Yeah, that wasn't. No, they didn't want that. That's not how they did it. Check this kitchen out. Kitchen, bam. Completely different kitchen, right? Now is this a listing that we want to put our sign in the yard for? We want to hold the open house for? Want to put on our flyers? Absolutely. But I'm saying do both if you can. Why not? There's going to be opportunities that land on your desk where you can do both. But you have to be able to spot that diamond in the rough. Right? Now on this investment project, I wasn't the flipper. I was a wholesaler on this project. So this was a wholesale. Again, we're not going to talk about wholesale for today, but that's what I was on this project. But I went back and I told that investor, because I had worked with him before, I said, hey man, I'm going to take pictures of this project. I got numbers and things for his contractor. This was a good, learning experience for me, how to put the deal together. Our goal, of course, whenever we're doing real estate and any type of investment, is to buy low and sell high, right? That sounds like almost redundant. It's such a cliche. Buy low, sell high. But what does that look like? What does it look like to buy low and sell high? It looks like how that property looked in the beginning. Because once it looks like at the end, it's too late. Right? You missed that opportunity to buy low and sell high. The other guy already fixed it up and he's selling it high. Right? So that's how real estate works. If it looks distressed, if it's a distressed situation or a distressed property, and it creates the opportunity to buy low and sell high. Fair enough? Like with the stock market, I mean, it's a little different. I don't know stock market. I was listening to this YouTube channel, Grant Cardone. I don't know if you know who this dude is, but he's a real cocky real estate investor dude. He's like, look, I don't do stock. It's not what I do. I don't do stock market. I do real estate. I invest in real estate. I invest in what I know. And I was like, that makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many opportunities in real estate that you can invest in. Wholesaling, flipping, being an investor, putting money up, being the principal, doing the project yourself, having rental properties, investing in REITs. There's so many different opportunities to invest, commercial properties, blah, 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 and to invest in real estate. So buy low, sell high. What does it look like in real estate? A distressed opportunity. A distressed opportunity is going to be those things that I mentioned down on the bottom of that slide, slide 1, right? That's worth the price of admission. I'm telling you, this is good stuff. Downsizing, dealing with health issues, divorce. These are opportunities that could potentially allow you to purchase something under market, under fair market value. Buy low, sell high. So then we look at this next slide, because a lot of people tell me, oh, you know what? I got investors and they're buying on the MLS. Okay, maybe you're going to have some success 30, 40% of the time on the MLS. People looking to sell usually hire a real estate agent, and there may be something on the MLS. But 60 to 70% of your deals are going to be you going to meet Mr. Carter, getting him on the phone, going to knock on his door, getting in front of him. That's going to be 60, 70% of the time that you have the most success, getting in front of your prospective seller for that property. As I just said, we want to get it direct from the seller. MLS is great. I would use the MLS maybe as a backup plan, but by and large, I'm going to urge you to get in touch with those sellers and for those properties. That making sense? Let's just recap, and then I'll take the questions for this section. Fair enough? So distressed opportunities. Again, downsizing, dealing with health issues, divorce, damaged property, and death. Next up, finding your niche area. All right, so finding your niche area. This is going to be slide number 4 in your handout. These are the niche areas and where you have the most success. So these distressed opportunities a lot of times will lead to these particular niche areas. What are they? Here they go. Types of properties. Vacant, probate, notice of default, notice of trustee sale, evictions. So in our office, we call it VPNE, VPNE. We started out, it was VPN. Hey, did you update the VPN log? And then it was like, hold up, here's another. Did you update the VPNE log? There may be another one. Next year you come back to the presentation, we figure out something else. But right now, vacants, probates, notices, and evictions definitely lead to the high probability of you reaching a prospect that's in a distressed opportunity. Okay, fair enough. So for me, I like the vacants. That was kind of where I had my first success. I thought I was onto something when I found the vacants. Vacants, boarded up homes. That's where I came in with the vacanthomeguy.com. It's like, hey, this is kind of, I think I got something. My first 2-3 properties were vacant homes. And they look like this. They were boarded up, like so. This is one that was in LA on 83rd or something like that, boarded up. You go in, and in this property, the sellers hired a contractor. The contractor just left them high and dry, gutted the property and started the work, and then they just went ghost on them, disappeared. They were still paying a mortgage on the property every month. I think it was like $2,300, $2,500 a month, and it had been vacant almost a year and a half by the time I came along with this property and found out about it. And timing is everything, right? So timing is huge in regard to getting a seller, convincing, even if you're getting a listing, and you know this firsthand, even if you're getting a listing, and you could say to that person today, hey, are you looking to sell? And they're like, no. And 6 months later, there's a sign in the yard. You're like, man, what happened? I reached out to them. That was back in June. And they said they weren't selling. Well, it's November now. Things change in people's lives. Health conditions change, right? Grandkids are born. I got a close friend of ours, close family friends. I get along with the husband. My wife gets along with the wife. Our kids get along. It was like, cool. And they lived in Inglewood. They moved to Virginia. They're in Virginia now. They did hire me to sell their home for them, so I'm grateful for that. But their parents live down the street. And so now their parents bought a house in Virginia. So the house that's on that street where they grew up in is vacant a lot of times, right? Or maybe there's a sister or somebody staying there now. But my point is they're not utilizing that 4-bedroom house like they were utilizing it at one time. Things bring about changes. When people move, so do everything. So I would say every 3 months, if you come, that may be too long. If you got somebody that you think maybe want to do something, every 2 months, follow up with them. They tell you 4 months, this costs $1,000. I'm gonna give you this here too. They say 4 months, 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
They say 6 months, 3 months. They say call me next year, 4 to 6 months. That's what that means, right? So that's how you have to look at it. You want to be on top of how people are telling you, because there's opportunities that are going to come up. Timing is everything. Fair enough? Finding your niche area. So I gave you 4 niche areas. There was vacants, there was probates, there was notices of default, notices of trustee sale, and evictions. It's going to be very hard to do all of those. It's going to be very hard to do. It's kind of like me trying to look behind me right now. I got a really good 180 right here, but I can't see what's going on directly behind me. And so the same thing with probates and notices. Like, you can't do it all. You got to figure out, where your particular area is going to have the most success. So if you do have a lead generating system for, let's say, vacants, then that's going to be your area. If you got a lead generating system for probates, then let that be your area. There's plenty of probates in LA County, right? You got Long Beach to the Valley and everything in between in regard to probate. You're going to have too many probates. You can't follow up with all of them. So you find an area. Maybe it's South Bay. Maybe it's Long Beach. Maybe it's the Valley area. You find something that's kind of close to you, and that be your hub. Those zip codes will be the zip codes that you look for those things in. Because to live in the Valley and try to look for something as far as Long Beach, good luck. I mean, you're going to feel overwhelmed. Because if you got 50 new leads coming in this month, that's a lot of leads to follow up on. Right? It's very hard to be effective and follow up with 50 leads. You can probably handle effectively 10, 20, about 20 maybe. But once you start getting 50, 100 of these and to follow up on, because again, we're trying to door knock. We're trying to find this person. We're trying to get in front of them. So it takes a lot of effort and energy to do that. But that's why, vacants were good for me. So just to kind of recap this, we got vacants, probates, evictions, and notices. So vacants may not be distressed all the time, right? Because like my guy said, hey man, I didn't really need the money. I'm retired. I don't want to deal with tenants. It sounds like a headache. That's not what I did. I retired from my job. I'm not a landlord or a property manager or none of that. So I just sat there. I own it. It's still collecting value. It's going up a little bit every year. Vacant and boarded up, it's still appreciating in value for me. So what's the rush? All I gotta do is pay property tax. The property tax is $500 a year. I got that in my sofa cushions. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how he didn't care about the $500 property taxes. Insurance, whatever. If it burns up, it's still worth way more than I paid for it back in the 70s. So that's how a lot of times people look at these properties. So just because it's vacant may not be a distressed situation. Probate may not be a distressed situation. Maybe someone in the family actually wants to keep the property and rent it out, but they're going through the court process to try to achieve that goal. So just because it's probate doesn't mean that that's going to be a distressed situation. Evictions. Hey, it was just a problem tenant. I'm glad to get rid of them to try and get somebody else in there. Property manager knows exactly how this works, right? Section 8 knows exactly how this works. We're glad that they left so that we can get somebody that's going to be able to take care of this better than that person did anyway. I'm not trying to sell. I just needed a new tenant. So these aren't necessarily going to create distressed situations, but they are high probability distressed situations. Do you get what I'm getting at? Right? Versus I'm just randomly knocking on doors through a neighborhood and just saying, hey, you got a distressed situation? Hey, you got a distressed situation? We want to try and create a high probability situation. So if something's vacant, they're not making income from it. They're probably dealing with getting squatters out at some point in time, and the property is deteriorating. That's just a given. If I'm gone from my house for 2 days, there's plenty of spider webs they're going to collect on the front porch. Can you imagine if I'm gone for 2 months or 2 years? How many spider webs are going to be on the front porch and in the backyard and stuff like that? So that's just what happened. Leaves start blowing all everywhere in the yard and grass starts growing all high. So those are things that are definitely going to create those type of looks as in regards to distress situations, but they may or may not be. Now this one, notices of default, notices of trustee sale, typically is a distress situation, right? If someone has an NOD on their property, notice of default. If someone has an NOT on their property, notice of trustee sale. That means that the note's not getting paid. And if the note's not getting paid, that is an indication of a distress situation. Fair enough? Mm-hmm. So this one is definitely the most likely that someone's in distress. However, if someone's losing a property, they're usually not like, Rhonda, I'm glad you called.
Right.
I'm ready to throw the towel in. They're trying to go out swinging.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't trying to lose this house. I'm filing bankruptcy next week. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. They going out swinging. You understand what I'm saying? So even though they are typically in distress, they're not glad that you called to say, yeah, you can list my house for me. I'm throwing in the white flag, right? No, but it is a high probability. It's worth following up on that with that person. You know, because today they may be swinging, but maybe by the end of the middle of the summer, they tired. They might have run out of all plans, exhausted everything. And now you come and you say, oh, man, I guess I might as well talk. You've been talking to me 8 months ago, and you was telling me trying to sell then. What can you do for me now? So it's, again, timing is everything. So this is definitely a distress situation, but the question is, where is the client? Where are they in the process? Are they at the throw the towel in phase? Or are they in the, I'm still trying to keep this home phase? And most of the time when someone's in distress, I'm going to say at some point, probably 60, 70% of the time, it does end up going into some type of sale or foreclosure. Even I remember back when we all been in here for a little while in the business, they would say, oh, these loan modifications, yeah, 50% of the people that do a loan mod end up losing the house. And you're like, what? I thought they got a loan mod. That should help them out. And they're like, yeah, but they still end up getting behind. And the loan mod was just a bridge, a short-term bridge, or a Band-Aid on a bullet wound kind of thing. So, again, finding your niche area. These are the niche areas. Find one that works for you. Narrow it down to a specific geographic area. You don't want to, cast your net so wide that you can't manage it. Again, 10 to 20 leads per month is a lot of leads to follow up on effectively. And again, we want to try and get in front of these people, not just send them a postcard or an email or leaving them a voicemail. They're not going to call you back. There's a 90% chance they're not going to call you back. We want to talk about how to get your deal financed. That's where we are in this session. How to get your deal financed. So far, we've covered where and what to look for, finding your niche area. We're going to talk about how to get your deal financed. Are everybody ready? Let's get into it. This is one of the slides in your handout. This is slide number, I think, 5. All right. So I got an email. A young lady came to my presentation, Lunch and Learn. And she says to me, she says, you know what, my biggest barrier to entry is just what? Be more specific. I don't have any money. Yeah, that's what she said. Y'all being cute about it. It's like, I ain't got no money. That's what she said. She said, I don't have any money to do a deal, right? Not enough money to purchase. That's why I put that on there for you. Not enough money to purchase. And a lot of times you think that that is your biggest barrier to entry, Somebody says, I only got $10,000. Is that enough? I don't feel like I can do a deal with $10,000, right? To which I would tell you, and I mentioned that to people that were at 6th Avenue, that's what I purchased 6th Avenue with out of pocket. Out of pocket was $10,000, right? Now, granted, I'm going to have to put more in that for renovation and everything, but the purchase out of pocket was $10,000. So you have to start shifting, again, your thinking. You're still thinking, I need 20% down. I need 5% down. I need 3% down. I need. How many people are there in this room? 3, 5, 8, and Giselle make 9, me 10, 11, 12. There's 12 people in here, right? What if we bought it? Instead of thinking what I need, what about if I reached out to Rhonda and said, hey, Rhonda, this is a project that I have. What if I reached out to Jules, George, Teresa, Sarah, Wayne, specifically Wayne, That's how we come up with enough capital to do a deal. Malik, Phyllis. I'm not going to leave anybody out. When I sent my postcards out, these were people that I had done deals with, that I talked real estate with before, and they got a postcard. I'm not leaving anybody out. And then I didn't get a chance to call them, but that would be my next step. I did call a few people, that I sent postcards to and just followed up. Didn't hear back from them, but okay, I'm on to the next deal. It closed anyway, and I'm going to keep you in the loop on the next one. Don't let the barrier of entry be, I don't have enough money. Maybe you don't have enough money in your account, but that doesn't mean that you don't have access to enough money. Don't let that be a barrier of entry, because it's not like buying a single family residence where you need 5%, right? It's unlikely that I'm going to give Wayne 20% down to buy his personal residence. That he's going to live there 30 years with his wife and kids. Like, no, but if it's an investment opportunity, it's more likely. Am I making sense? So no, it's not about what you necessarily have. Another barrier to entry, man, my credit is shot. I got bad credit. When I bought the property, those that came to the lunch and learn, the meet and munch, they didn't even check my credit. You know how I know they didn't check my credit? Because my credit is frozen. They would have asked me to unfreeze it to check my credit. So credit wasn't even an issue. It was how much money do you have? How much can you come up with? Can you send us some bank statements? Send us your LLC paperwork. Send us this, send us that, all the stuff that they needed in order to do the deal. That was it. Cool, we can fund it. How long you need? 7 days, 10 days? I said, I'm trying to get in touch with my investor, one of my investment partners to come up with enough money to close. Bob, give me as long as you can. 7 days good? 7 days. Am I making sense? Don't let these be barriers to entry. This is worth the price of admission, right? Some people let that be a barrier to entry. You know what the biggest barrier to entry is, in my opinion, for anybody that's getting into real estate? This is your biggest barrier to entry. Number 3. That is your biggest barrier to entry. You do not have a good deal. That's just the bottom line. Your deal isn't good enough. Because if I tell Jules, hey, Jules, I got this project I'm working on, man, I need $50,000. I can pay you 25% return in 6 months. Do I have your attention? Yes. Just a little bit. Why do I have your attention? This is why I have your attention. This is exactly why I have your attention. Oh, I skipped. Oh, okay. I'm still on my thunder from another slide. But I got your attention if I tell you I can give you 25% on something, right? That's because you know it's really good, right? Maybe I can only give you 20%. Maybe I can give you 15. Maybe on this one I can give you 10. But whether I'm giving you 10, 15, 20, 25%, that's great in comparison to what you would be making if you were putting it in something else. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So how do you get your deal financed? Here's some options. Number 1, save your own money. And let's just say you want to do it yourself. I want to buy it all cash. I want to renovate it myself. How much do you think you need to do that? $550,000. Okay, how long do you think it's going to take you to save $550,000? It's going to take you a while to come up with that capital. It'll be about 2040 by the time you do your first flip. In the meantime, I'm retired, and Cyrus and Selena are starting to do flips. And I'm saying, hey, what's up? You said, man, I'm working on my first one. I remember you came to that presentation with you. That was right before 2020. I'm finally getting it going. I got enough money, right? So you want to work with what you have and pool funds together. Another way you can do it. Home equity line. Maybe you own a property already. Can you pull a property out? Can you do a cash out refinance? Can you do a home equity line on that property? That will give you some entry money to get your deal going. But again, it has to be a good deal because it has to make money. And if it doesn't make money, everybody's losing. You, your investors, everybody's losing. It has to be a good deal. But these are ways. Saving your own money. Maybe you need to save $100,000. Maybe you need to save $500,000. I don't know what you got in your head as to what you need to get started, but that's going to take a while. You understand what I'm getting at? Home equity line. Maybe you have a property and you can pull some cash out of your property. That could speed you up a little bit because we can do a home equity line, a cash out refinance, and get that going in the next 30 days. And that might give you $75,000 that you need to get going. But you're going to need probably more than $75,000 to do your project. But where do you get the other money from? I just gave you a list of 12 people in here that you could probably hit up, which is coming up on one of my other slides. Maybe you want to do a conventional purchase on the property, where you say, hey, I can buy this second home for 5% down, or I can buy a second home for 10% down. Okay, maybe that's what you want to do. Save your own money, home equity line, conventional purchase, right? That's kind of what most people would think that they would do in this regard. Making sense? These are kind of like the ones that come to mind. I need to save my own money before I start flipping. Maybe I'll pull out a home equity line. That's not a bad idea. Or maybe I'll buy it using a conventional loan and do it as a second home. Or maybe my grandma, her home is paid off and she lives in the valley and she could buy owner occupied in Long Beach, and then that could work. I could do the deal like that, doing a conventional financing, and I could just flip it maybe. If the property is in okay condition, maybe you can do that. But if it's one of those I showed you, like Golden Street, where the roof was all caving into the floor, no lender's touching that. That's private money, hard money only. So this is a suggestion I recommend, private financing. And I give an example here, Hugh Hefner. I like watching documentaries, how they got started. So I watch the Social Network or the Zuckerberg story, Jobs, Steve Jobs. And I watch one about Hefner as well. All of a sudden you hear him, he's 80 years old walking around with a robe on. Where did this guy come from? You know what I mean? I don't know his backstory. So I was listening to his documentary, and he's like, I was working at Esquire magazine. I guess he got a degree in journalism or something like that. I was working at Esquire magazine, and I kept coming up with good ideas. And I pitched them to management. Some of them they would take, some of them they wouldn't. And eventually I started climbing up the ladder, and I wanted to really make a bigger splash. But they kept kind of pushing me to the side, maybe because I was a younger editor or my position, maybe that was it. I don't know. But they weren't doing what I wanted them to do. So I said, you know what, I can create a better magazine than this. So I came up with a magazine idea. And so his magazine idea, he said, I had this idea of what I wanted to do with it. I was going to make something mainly for the male audience, right? But I wanted to have really good stories because I'm a journalist. I wanted to have more than just pictures, right? So I had good stories in there, and that made my magazine stand out, as well as, of course, the photography of it. And I needed to get this thing off the ground. But in order to do that, I needed the money. I'm an editor working pretty much paycheck to paycheck. So I made a list of 25, 30 people, I don't know how many he said, but I made a list of so many people and started calling them to see if they would invest in my magazine. First person on my list was my dad, who said, absolutely no, I'm not going to invest in that, that's crazy. Then my mom, and then he went on through the other people that he called, giving you some idea of who he called. I said, absolutely, that's what you got to do. You got to call, everybody got family. Somebody's willing to give you $25, $50, $100,000 for your deal. You just got to ask. But ultimately, what has to happen with that? Most people aren't just going to give it to you just because they like you. Hey, Giselle, yeah, I like you a lot. You're a sweet young lady. Here goes $50,000, $100,000. That's not going to happen. It's the WWIFM, right?
What's in it?
What's in it for me? I'm going to give it to you, but what? I'm just supposed to give this to you? $50,000, $100,000? So you have to bring a good deal to the table. That's imperative. The deal has to make sense in order for people to give you some money. In addition, when you got a resume, that helps as well. If you have a book of business that they can refer back to of things that you've done. So, private financing. Ask people for money. I don't have the money. I use that as another one. It just said, remember, that was the one on the previous slide. I don't have enough money. The third deal I did was in San Pedro. That one closed the beginning of this year. I purchased that property out of pocket with $500. Purchased the property. I got 100% financing from my investor to purchase the property. $500. Now, granted, I had to pay for the renovation. I had to do the carrying costs on, the insurances and things like that. But out of pocket, look at the closing statement. It says earnest money deposit. It says what the lender paid, blah, 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 blah. The seller, because I told him I needed $350, I knew she owed $343 or $44. So I used a credit from the seller to cover the buyer's closing costs. It was all, part of, what I borrowed, but still, that's how I came out of pocket with only $500 on the purchase. Then I had to give her relocation money, right? But I didn't have to come up with that till later. We escrowed that, so that was something I had to pay, but that was later. The purchase of the property, just the purchase, not her relocation money, just the purchase was $500. Can you come up with $500? Can you come up with $500? The question is, do you have an investor that'll give you the difference? Because I know everybody here can come up with $500. Are you bringing a deal to the table where somebody says, you know what, man, I'll put up to $350 for that purchase? I had no idea he was going to put up to $350. I went to him asking him if he had a contact for hard money. I said, man, I got a great project. I want to get it done. Do you have a contact for hard money? You got a contact for hard money? George, you know how to get some hard money? I need some hard money. I got something good over here. I'm asking people that I know in my network for some hard money. So they all knew I was looking for something. And two people said, well, what are you working on? I'm interested in it. He was one. And he said, well, I'm willing to come in all in based on what your terms are. I like to do that deal with you. Had no idea that was going to be the response. Like, caught me off guard. I thought he was jiving. Like, oh, people always talking, you know. But I'm going to go to lunch with him anyway. Maybe he's serious. But then when he started saying, well, where do I wire the money? Because I'm going out of town. I want to do this before I leave. That's when I was like, oh, okay. He's serious for real. Do you follow what I'm saying? You have to ask. Start thinking about people building something in your neighborhood. Look at it. Whatever. Something's being built in everybody's neighborhood. That's not one person's money doing that deal. I'll give you another example. Ever heard of Prudential? Ever heard of Fidelity? TD Ameritrade? Whose money are they using? Their money? Our money. That's my point, exactly. So if you came to grandma and said, Grandma, this is what I'm working, I got this project, this is great. You think grandma going to shoot you down? Knowing that you've been doing real estate for the last 5 years? Knowing that you got something that's probably going to work? You're showing her the numbers? This is what I can give you back? Does that make sense to grandma? Oh, baby, that's a lot of money. Whew. I never came out of pocket 100,000. Let me just give you 50 and see what you do with that. Let me give you 25, start you off. Maybe you can come up with some other people with the other one. That's a lot. I don't want to come up off of that. But she's probably going to give you something. This is huge right here. You got to ask. Last is hard money. Because let's say grandma only gives you 50,000, 25,000. Well, you got a chunk, but you're going to need some more. Right? You're going to need some more. So hard money is hard money, I know it sounds like Bruno's going to come break your legs if you don't pay him back, right? Hard money. That's what it sounds like. But the terms are just higher. We're putting 10 to 25% down. It's 8 to 12%. The points are 2 to 3 points. It's usually interest only. You know, these are kind of like what hard money is kind of typical. But I'm going to give you an example a little later of how sometime doing hard money would be better than going all in with your own cash. Why? Because it allows you to leverage your position. And so therefore, you're putting up less money to make that rate of return at the end. So your ROI, return on investment, is larger. I'll show you that in a slide or two. That's why I told you to get some coffee, because we're going to get into some meat and potatoes on this. Making sense? Mm-hmm. Good stuff? Save your own money, home equity line, conventional purchase, private financing, hard money, ways to finance your deal. I don't want anybody to say, I don't have the money. I got bad credit. They didn't check my credit. I just told you I bought a house in San Pedro with $500 out of pocket at the closing. So there's no idea that you don't have the money. You got to find the right deal. Am I making sense to somebody? Well, I say the good deals bring investors. Why? Because I was at the ATM, and then this was the rate of return. Chase had this on the ATM. It was hilarious. Grow your money. Put $10,000 in our CD and get 1.75% back on your money. 1.75%. Okay. Inflation is 3%. So I'm going to give you 10 grand to not make any money at the end of the day. Then they bumped it up a little bit. They bumped it up. I went back about a month later, they bumped it up. They rounded on up. They said, we're going to give you 2%. We'll give you a whole 2%. And then I went back about a month later. It was back down to 1.75. You missed that opportunity to make 0.25% on your money. And they wonder why the rich get richer. What are they going to do with the money? They're going to make 25, 50, 100% and offer us this. That's crazy. Unreal. I'm getting 1.75. That's insulting, in my opinion. I mean, somebody might be like, that's great. And if that's your perspective, then perspective is everything. But 2% is like, man, at least give me 5. Put me a little bit past inflation. Let's look at the numbers. Ladies and gents, this is the moment we waited for. ARV. ARV, we got to know what this term means when we flipping houses. That's like flipping 101. That's the prerequisite, actually. That ain't even the 101 class. ARV. It's the after repair value, right? Because they throw that around like, GC. That's another term they run around, like GC, general contractor. Just certain things you should know. All right. If I'm buying a property, somebody brings me a property, and they say, hey, Mill, I got a property. They're looking to get $390,000 on the purchase. I'm going to say, okay, that sounds good, $390 on the purchase. But in my mind, my question is, how much can I resell this property for? And for me, through the workshops and the things that I picked up over the years, you want to be between 65 to 70%. Ideally 65%, so that's why I went with that one. Right. So Jules, this is a good one because I know you sent me one in Gardena, and I said I'd probably be like 400,000, and the asking price was 470.
That one was already sold.
It was already sold
Yeah,
anyway.
I put it on the,
Yeah,
on the M&F form, right?
totally. Only for record keeping purposes only. But in this example, if you bring me a project and you say, hey, the sellers want, or I can sell it to you for 500. I'm doing the math to see what 65%, what is my resale going to be? What's the highest I can be on the resale? So if I could resell it for 600, the ARV, I'm purchasing it for 65% of that. I would be willing to go up to 70% if it was a pretty decent neighborhood. So that puts me between 390 and 420 on my purchase. Fair enough? Okay, so that's where my head is. And I'm going to show you why on a couple more slides. Then there's the acquisition cost. Acquisition cost is going to be down payment and closing costs, right? So pretty much when you think of acquisition cost, it's the purchase price of the property plus the closing costs. Just make it easier. So if the property is 390, it's 390 plus my closing costs. Or I broke it down another way because if I'm putting 20% down, then that's going to be 78,000 for my down payment. And then my closing cost at 3 points is about 12 grand. Fair enough? That's my acquisition cost. Easy math, purchase price plus closing costs gives me 402-ish, right? Somewhere around there. 390 plus 12, 402, right? But this is the acquisition cost. Acquisition cost is going to be my down payment plus my closing costs, and then of course what I purchased it for. All right. Then there's also carrying costs. Because you got to do a renovation, right? There's no sense in purchasing it if you can't renovate it. You got to renovate the property. And then you're going to have a note on that if you do hard money every month. So you have to do the terms of that hard money. How long am I going to hold paper as the term is used? And then there's $12,000 for utilities, for staging, for whatever is going to come up. Some HVAC that needs to be replaced, or maybe there's something else. We're trying to just make some miscellaneous. We don't want to get too carried away on that. But it could go up from 12,000, but let's just kind of put that in as a cushion. Fair enough? So we got 60,000 for the renovation, 15 for the note, 12,000 there for the miscellaneous. Doesn't stop there. What else do we have? We got to sell the house, right? So when we sell the property, we're also going to have some expenses to sell. So our expenses to sell, we got closing costs, and that's going to be, I'm guessing, about, we're going to give the agent 2.5%, right? Plus we got all the other fees that we're going to have off of the sale. Another 1.5 at least. So I'm saying about 4% is what that's going to be. So when we look at this, that's 600,000 is my ARV, but I purchased it for 390. My down payment was 78, 20% down. Closing cost was 12. My renovation budget 60. My note out of pocket is 15. 12,000 is our other stuff we got to pay. And then at the end, we're also going to still have to pay our closing costs. Now, the good thing about this part here is that it's not an out-of-pocket expense. That 24,000, we don't have to come out of pocket to pay the listing agent, to pay escrow, to pay title. That's not something we come out of pocket with, to pay the home warranty. That's taken out of our closing expenses settlement statement when we close. So this is something that we have to include in the calculation, but fortunately we don't have to come out of pocket with those things. But we do have to come out of pocket with 78 plus the 60 plus the 12 plus the 15. So it gets expensive. So if you are only putting in $500 in the example I gave, yes, there's going to be a lot of other things you have to cover out of pocket. So you do need some money. I'm not saying you can flip a house at $500. Maybe you can if you're able to come up with the other financing from other people. Like maybe you had a lender that gave you 100% of the purchase price, and maybe you had another lender who gave you the carrying costs and everything else that you need. I'm making sense. Fair enough. Let's look at it another way, looking at the numbers. I think this one, maybe it should be in your handout. This one, yes. We're on the top of page 3. This one's in here. Okay, top of page 3. We're there. Cool. Top of page 3. So 600K is the ARV. That's what we know we can get once we resell the property. 600,000. $90,000 is the acquisition cost, okay? That was what it cost us. Down payment, closing costs to buy the property is $90K. $87,000 is our carrying costs. That was the note, the renovation, those things, okay? So if you want to make notes next to that, that's what that is. Carrying costs. $24,000 is our closing cost at the end on this particular project. Just an estimate, and that's paid at the closing, okay? So, in this example, we got 312, which is our, anybody want to take a stab at it? Almost. It's dealing with the purchase price, but 312 is our loan amount, right? Because we purchased it at 390 minus 78,000 in our down payment gives us our loan amount of 312. But I included that over here. So this is 312 plus the acquisition costs, plus the carrying costs, plus the closing costs at the end. So if we wanted to do the deal all cash by ourselves, I don't need you, Jules. I got $513K sitting in my couch cushions, right? If I wanted to do the deal myself, this is what I would need, $513K to do that deal myself. Fair enough? Right? Out of pocket. That's what I need. So I sold it for $600K. I'm in all cash for $513. So my net is $87,000. Would that be worth doing the deal?
Yes.
Yeah. Because my rate of return is decent. You like that rate of return? I put up $513 out of pocket, and I made $87,000, 6 to 9 months. Sounds good?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Not bad? Pretty good?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Not bad. I mean, it's always good to make more, but that's not bad, right? All right. So I'm going to show you some numbers here. Let's look at the numbers. That's what this session's called. Look at the numbers. I remember when we were at the house, Rhonda, and you were asking me some numbers. I said, wait till the training. Because then you can see it on it. I didn't have any of this with me, and it wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense. But this is what I wanted to kind of go over with you there. So if we take a loan out of pocket, we're at $177,000, right? If we take a loan and out of pocket, that's what we did. We did our down payment, all that stuff. All right, cool, we're there. We walk away with $87,000. That was our profit, right? You see my rate of return if I do a loan? What's my rate of return if we do a loan? A lot better than if I did all cash at $513,000. Why? Because my rate of return is 49.15% if I get a loan on the property. I'm out of pocket. I didn't need you, Jules, on this. I did the deal myself. I'm good. I put $177,000 out of pocket. My profit was $87,000. So I walk away at the closing with my money back, $177 plus the 87. So I'm at about what, $264, I think it is, ballpark, right? $264. This plus that is $264. My rate of return on this, if I'm able to do it in 6 months, is 4.15% ROI, return on investment. Okay, I just showed you the bank, what they give me. They give me 1.5, 1.7, my bad, 1.75. I made a mistake. They give you 1.75, 2%. And this is an investment where you're making 49.15% if you're putting in 170 yourself. That's in 6 months. Now, if we're able to do 2 deals under the same terms and come out just the same, our annualized rate of return is 98.3%. Am I making sense to somebody? Wow. If we're able to do 2 of those. Malik, I didn't need you on this deal. I put this in myself. 177, I'm good. Right? This is if you do it yourself. That's how it looks. Rate of return is really good. It's a lot, really good. Turn time again, 6 to 9 months. So now I'm going to give you that example as if you put the whole amount of money in yourself, $513,000. I'm going to go through that a little quicker. All cash, you in for $513,000. You walk away with the same 87, right? My rate of return is 16.95%, which is still good. It's not bad. Nobody's mad at 16.95%. And if we're able to do 2 of those deals using that same equation and formula, they yield about the same return. My annualized rate of return is 33.9. Turn time, 6 to 9 months. So then I ask, does it make sense to get financing on your hard money transactions? on these deals, on your flips? Would it make sense to get financing? Absolutely. I remember when I was first, learning, and an investor told me, because I'm thinking you need $500,000, why wouldn't you use your own money and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And, again, he didn't tell me why. He just said, oh, it just makes more sense not to use your own money. You come out better. And he was like, talking to somebody else about blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what does he mean you come out better? It didn't make sense to me. Nobody showed me this equation, Rhonda. This ain't something that somebody's like sat down with me like I'm sitting down with you guys to go over. This is just me doing it. And it's like, okay, well, let me do the calculation. And then this is that. This isn't from, some training I went to. This is from actually hands-on experience and number crunching and watching some YouTube videos and like, okay, well, that's what this means and carry the one. Okay, I got it. Do you follow what I'm saying? Piecemealing it together, but putting it together for you guys in one Cliff Notes version of how this works. So that way you have an understanding as to what you're getting involved in regard to flip projects. So if you have the option, you say, I got $513,000 sitting in the bank, I could do this deal myself. You may not want to do that. You may just want to borrow the hard money and do this other slide that I just showed you, because the rate of return is even better than if you did it yourself. Now, one guy told me, he said, when you do this equation, he said 16.95. He gave me a worksheet, and Wayne, you've seen the worksheet that we use. And he says, when you do the worksheet, you at least want to be at about 15%. That's the goal. And that's how you know if you got a good deal or not, if the worksheet yields about 15%. So it's pretty much like this formula here, but I just kind of cliff note it for you so we don't go through an Excel worksheet. So you see the meat and potatoes of it. If my net profit divided by what I spent out of pocket is 15% or more, it's a pretty good deal per him. I like the other example better, where I borrow the hard money and now I put up $177,000 out of pocket and then make the 87. I like that better, right? Just me personally. How can we work together on some things? Of course, consider me. I think this is one of the last slides in there. Consider me a client. You can represent me if you see a project. Shadow me on projects right now. There's 67th and 6th Avenue. Those are the two that I'm working on. Partner with me on a project. If you come across something and you want to partner with somebody, run it by me. I'm interested in partnering with people. As I told Sarah, I said I want to look at your resume. Like if this is your first time doing a flip, I'm probably going to want to take the steering wheel on it. And, we work it together. I'm going to be your driver coach on it. Right? Passenger as a call, student driver. You got the big sign on your car and everything. That's kind of how it is, when you're doing your first deal. You're kind of like a student investor, so to speak. And you kind of, hey, no, you're about to hit that. We want to make sure we avoid obstacles, is my point. So get access to pre-market listings. That's something I'm definitely working on as I meet more investors, like the investors that were at our project on 6th Avenue. Some people were real estate agents. Some other people were investors on projects. And they're saying, oh, I got this coming up, so on and so forth. So I want to email that out to those of you that are real estate agents that may be looking. Share this info with a colleague. Like Rhonda, share with Sarah. I really appreciate that. Share this information with a colleague. Don't keep it to yourself. That's how you also grow your network, when people know what you're looking for. Or, hey, check this YouTube video out. I went to this guy's workshop and training, and he's got a 10-minute video on 7 reasons real estate agents make the best real estate investors. Attend my next event. So right now I don't have anything on the calendar. It's November. I'm getting into the holidays. Probably won't put anything on the calendar until like January. So that's pretty much where we are at the moment on things. Let's recap what we learned, because we're right at 12:30, and I got some leads. If you guys want to stick around and get leads, we'll go over that. So where and what to look for. That was important, right? We talked about where and what to look for. That was that diamond in the rough example that I gave. Like, this is how the diamond looked initially, but if we know what we're looking for, we already start with the end in mind, where and what to look for. Finding your niche area. This is right, I'm going right back to the second slide on your handout. Finding a niche area. There were 4 niche areas: vacants, probates, notices of default, and evictions. Those are the 4 that I would suggest kind of starting with. How to get your deal financed. That was great information, because we looked at, I could save the money myself. I could pull from a home equity line. I could do a conventional loan. I could ask some people to come in on my project, or I could do hard money. Those are different ways about how to get your deal financed. So it's very important to know how to get the money, because if you can't get the money, you can't do the deal. I was just working on a 4-unit purchase. I was helping a lender do a deal. We were kind of like trying to do it. The buyer's here in LA. He's buying up in Bakersfield. FHA loans, 4 units. FHA, 4 units, does not consider your income in qualifying you to purchase it. Owner occupied. So, hold up. He doesn't even need a job? Like, is that, well, he still needs a job, but we're not going to use his income for the qualification purposes. What? You're not making sense. Well, the property needs to be able to debt service itself, period. We're not using that his income. I'm not understanding. He has to live there, but you're not going to allow him to, what? He has no debt. Like, he lives in a house, he paid off his house so he could buy this property. So, killed the deal.
So the 3 have to cover the 4?
The 3 have to cover the 4. No sense at all. He has to live there, and the 3 have to cover the 4. By the way, we're not giving you a full 100% of the rent. We only give you 75% of the rents, and that 75% of the rent needs to cover the 4. This is the dumbest thing I heard, but I didn't make the rules. FHA did, or HUD, or whoever they are. So my bottom line is, if you can't get the money, you can't do the deal. So we had to cancel the deal. Yeah, I wasn't happy about it, but he definitely wasn't happy about it. Let's look at the numbers. That was ARV. That was, what we purchased the property for. That was if we use hard money, what our rate of return is going to be, so on and so forth. Same work, triple the pay. If we're making bigger chunks of money, we don't have to work as hard as we had been on the other side. Now, again, that's not to say to give up any other listings, because, again, that's how you're going to get deals. When people know you do real estate, they bring you deals. So I hope I made sense today in regard to what it is that we're going to talk about.